Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. In front of the camera today I have the Protech Strider SNG. This is potentially a kind of special edition version since it does have a hand ground blade from a custom maker. So let me show you guys what we're going to be looking at here. Model number. Apparently there are only about 100 of these made, and yeah, there are the stats. Protech knives ship with this little box that I'm struggling to open. Holy crap. Alright. And you have a little pouch inside and warranty information on the inside of the box. So that's what it comes with. And let's get into this one. So this is my first Strider, and oddly enough it's not actually made by Strider, and I have, well, at least in my opinion, very good reason for that I'll talk about at the end of the video. But let's just focus on what this is. So this is a collaboration between Strider Knives, you got their logo there, and Protech Knives, and their logo is located right there. And it is an automatic, which is what Protech specializes in, of Strider's famous SNG model. And I don't recall what SNG stands for, nor is it terribly important right now. But again, this one is number 3 of 100 as marked on the blade, or on the handle right there. So anyways, it's an automatic version of the what normally is a manual knife, and that's why this collaboration is most likely allowed to happen. Strider would never make an automatic version of this knife, and so they were able to license it to Protech to create this version, and obviously they'll get, you know, kind of their cut, and so on and so forth. Anyhow, let's look at the specs on this particular one. We will grab the Spyderco Paramilitary 2, of course, and then we will grab the Kershaw Dividend. As far as the size goes, it should be pretty much exactly the same with the Strider. We're looking at a blade length of about 3.5 inches, although because they have a large forward finger choil and then a, well, we'll call it potentially a sharpening notch, the actual sharpened edge is only about 2.8 inches, so blade to handle ratio on this is not ideal. But if the Strider SNG model appeals to you, then you never really were too considerate of blade to handle ratio, because that's simply what this knife design is. Now, in typical Protech fashion, the blade steel is 154 cm. They Rockwell it to about 59, or harden it to about 59 on the Rockwell scale. Dave said their heat treat on 154 will, you know, certainly perform better than most, and I mean, to be honest, I have not really put this one to the test. It is a polished blade, but I just rotate through a lot of knives. So handle length is about 4.6 inches, give or take, and overall just coming in just over 8 inches. So now on this one, we do have a micarta front scale here. As you can see, when I initially got it, it was jet black. It looked to be the exact same color as the aluminum backside here, but it's gotten, I don't know, a combination of sweat and scuff and some other stuff on the handle, so the micarta started to pick up a little character, which I think is pretty cool. It does have a mother of pearl button here. It is a coil spring, of course, opening this thing up, and then the you know, typical Strider knife, the back spacer is actually integrated into the locking side. We'll call it the locking side here, or the back of the knife. Then it does have a typical Strider clip, which is a titanium clip here. So that is pretty much the Strider SNG. It does weigh in at about 4.2 ounces, and blade stock is coming in at 0.12 inches. Thickness behind the edge, so we've got 2 different grinds here on this compound grind. It's coming in at about 17 thousandths here on the front. No, about 30 thousandths here on the front, about 17 thousandths here on the rear portion, which they ground quite a bit thinner for better slicing, and the front is a little bit more of a reinforced edge. So yeah, so the blade was hand ground by a guy named Mike Erie. He is a custom knife maker out of Colorado Springs, Colorado, and he hand ground all of these for Protech. So did a wonderful job. Obviously the blade has been taken to a mirror, well, yeah, pretty much a mirror polish. There you can see the camera. But yeah, just a beautiful configuration. Now the cool thing is there are a lot of different versions of this knife out there. The price range, some of the entry models go from like $180 all the way up to like $1,200 on one configuration that was a full titanium handle and it had a Damascus blade. So there are actually quite a few different price points all throughout the spectrum. This one came in at about $450 dealer price. The MSRP was about $600. So yeah, let's do some close-ups. Swedge up top is polished too. The flats have been given, I don't know, maybe a satin or a, I don't know, like a wire wheel type of satin. I'm not quite sure how that one was done. Got the large stop pins, which are integrated into the blade. Aluminum backside. That micarta front scale. And that beautiful mother of pearl button. So just a really elegant touch on an, you know, otherwise pretty, well, I don't know, it's an elegant touch. So really like the spring is incredibly strong. It's not difficult to close, but definitely fires open with authority. This is one that if you, I don't really want to do this, but if you just do like 2 fingers, yeah, you're gonna lose it. So don't hand this to someone who's never messed with a knife with a spring this strong before. But anyways, that is the spring tension. Open, really solid. It's got a really solid lockup. Sometimes button locks have a little bit of play just by nature of the button lock. This one though just feels rock solid, so super impressive. And yeah, I mean, again, the grinds are absolutely beautiful. I mean, it looks like a machine did them, and I mean that in the nicest way possible, and that it's extremely symmetrical, and just can't really tell the difference side to side. The polish is flawless, so again, just a super cool offering. So that's pretty much the Protech. I mean, at least this version. Again, so many versions available that if you go online and look, you'll find different types of micarta, different blade steels. Some of these that are like black coated blades, and they had one that was exactly like this, but it had red micarta. Ooh, that was a combo. That was a really nice one. I think that may have been a Blade HQ exclusive, but I already had this one, so I couldn't really justify 2 of the exact same with different micarta, although I've done that with other knives, but we won't get into that. What was I saying? Okay, so why is this my first Strider? And here's where it's gonna get a little questionable. So I've been in this hobby for 10 years, and when I first got into this hobby, just about every thread on a forum devolved into a debate on what I'm going to call the Holy Trinity, which was Strider versus Hinderer versus Chris Reeve. That's all people talked about, that's all people debated. Everyone picked their favorite team, and then they went all in on it. The interesting thing is at the time I was collecting Spyderco knives, and you know, whether it was the ones from their Taichung factory or some of the ones from China or the US produced ones, they all came in just about perfect. You know, I expected really good results from the Spydercos. And when I heard about Strider knives, and you know, I started meeting up with people locally, and I started developing friendships with people through the forums and Instagram and other things, one of the reoccurring themes that kept coming up that really bothered me was the question, and it was totally acceptable at the time in reference to Strider, did you get a good one? And that was an acceptable question, and it was something that people would get excited about if they got a good one. And the problem was with Strider, and I don't know if it's still the case, that often enough you either had serious problems with lock stick or lock rock. And the solution, if you ended up with lock rock, was just send it back and they'll put a bigger stop pin in it, and that'll fix the issue. And oh, they're really good about it, and no, not a big deal. And that bothered me immensely, to think that people were knowingly buying these hoping they would get a good one, and then there were a bunch of problems with them, and don't worry, you just send it back and they'll just put in a bigger stop pin, and then if that doesn't work, they'll put in an even bigger stop pin. And again, perhaps this was just my view on it, but I started asking friends, again, both locally and online, how many of their Striders had some sort of lockup issue that they needed to send it back for. And through my own experience and the people I talked to, the number was close to about 40%. And so to me, this was completely unacceptable, as far as there being an ongoing issue that they simply hadn't rectified from the factory. And so I kind of wrote Strider Knives off completely and said, I really have no interest in a company that can't put out, you know, good products from the get-go. And again, there's always going to be something that comes back, but for it to be about 40% was just completely unacceptable to me. And yes, I know some of you watching, you've had 100 Striders and you've never had a single problem with them and blah, 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 blah. I know there's always that one guy, but again, talking to people that I trusted and knew and who were honest with me, that was not the information that I was getting. So anyhow, fast forward, here is Protech making a Strider SNG. I absolutely trust Protech's quality. They've always done a good job. They have a great reputation, and so I really had no concerns picking up an automatic version of this popular SNG model. Now, as of late, the rumor mill, and again, this could be BS or it could be true, is that Protech knives are currently being produced by Medford Knives. And again, it's a rumor. I don't know if it's true. I didn't reach out and substantiate, nor do I really care. But if it is true, that kind of excites me a little bit more. I mean, Medford, I don't like their designs at all, but they haven't had, at least as far as I know, questionable issues with lockup and other sorts of things. So perhaps they're better now than they were in the past. Perhaps they don't have those types of issues anymore. But again, when I got into the hobby and it being a well-known, well-documented, common issue and everyone was okay with it, I just couldn't do it. So that's why I've never bought a Strider until this one, which isn't made by Strider. Although I have bought Hinder now and I bought Chris Reeves, and so yeah, I guess that's a ramble for another video. So I'll go ahead and leave it there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed taking a look at this Strider SNG produced by Protech with this super cool compound ground polished blade, the mother of pearl inlay, the micarta front scale. Again, Protech's doing fantastic things. I already did a video on the kind of the custom Malibu here, so I'm going to keep my eye on them for 2021, and hopefully they'll continue to bring some really awesome stuff to the table. So thanks as always for watching, and follow me on Instagram for more daily content. And if you like this video, do me a favor, give me a thumbs up. Or if you didn't like it, feel free to give me a thumbs down and tell me why, and I'll see you guys on the next one.